Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Strategic Frontlines, the Clause official YouTube channel. And today we have with us Dr. Ashish Shukla, Associate Fellow IDSA, and he is an expert on Pakistan. So, first, welcome Dr. Ashish Shukla to this podcast. And we are going to discuss today the Pakistani internal conundrum. We know that the recent statement by Bilawal Bhutto on Hafiz Saeed and the reply what Hafiz Saeed's son had given. First, we like to play that video. First, Bhutto's video and then Hafiz Saeed's son's video for our viewers.
Specifically against men like Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar, who are the leaders of these groups, because the New York Times, in a May 2025 report, as recent as that, Mr. Bhutto said, Hafiz Saeed is a free man despite brief periods of detention.
That's not accurate. That's factually not correct that Hafiz Saeed is a free man. He is in the custody of the Pakistani state. As far as Masood Azhar is concerned,
yes,
we have been unable to arrest him or identify him. Given his past within the Afghan jihad context, it is our belief that he is in Afghanistan. If and when the Indian government shares information with us that he is in Pakistani soil, we'd be more than happy to arrest him. The fact is the Indian government is not.
Okay, but Mr. Bhutto, one second. I just want to come back on what you said about Masood Azhar, because that's quite an extraordinary statement you're making, that you're saying that a UN designated terrorist, you're not aware of his whereabouts, and you expect India to provide you that information.
Excuse me, when you have a CT cooperation with any country, we provide groups of our concern, they provide groups of their concern. That's how we manage to thwart attacks here in London, thwart attacks in New York, thwart attacks in Pakistan. As far as Masood Azhar is concerned, if he is in Afghanistan, that the West is now handed over to a group that once upon a time they called terrorists and now they call the people in charge of Afghanistan. Right. It's not possible for Pakistan to go and do what all of NATO was unable to do within Afghanistan. There's no reason for Pakistan to want to see this individual or any individual of concern to be active.
This was Bilawal Bhutto. Now we'll listen to the other video.
इंटरनेशनल न्यूज़ चैनल को इंटरव्यू देते हुए बिलावल ने जो बातें की, भारतीय सहाफ़ी के सवालात के जो जवाबात दिए, हकीकत में वो जवाब बनते नहीं थे, जिससे हम सब की पूरी पाकिस्तानी कौम की दिल आज़ारी हुई है। इस पर हम उसके इस बयानात की भरपूर मदम्मत करते हैं। मैं हैरान हूँ कि दुनिया के अंदर जितने भी मुल्क हैं वो अपने शहरियों के तहफ़्फ़ुज़ की खातिर क्या कुछ नहीं करते, लेकिन आज हमारे सियासतदान उनके मुंह में ज़ुबान दुश्मनों की हो और वो किसी भी पाकिस्तानी को दुश्मन के यानी हिंदुस्तान के हवाले करने की ऑफ़र्स करते फिरें। चे जाए कि पाकिस्तान की एक मोतबर शख्सियत मेरे वालिद मोहतरम हाफिज़ मोहम्मद सईद हफ़िज़हुल्लाह के बारे में ये अंदाज़ और ये बातें इख्तियार की जाएँ। हम इसकी भरपूर मज़म्मत भी करते हैं और हम ये वादे करते हैं कि हम और हमारी कौम इस पर आपका मुहासबा करेगी। ये हमारा हक़ है और हम अल्लाह ताला से दुआ करते हैं और यकीन रखते हैं कि अल्लाह ताला हमारे बुज़ुर्गों की, वतन अजीज़ पाकिस्तान की हर मोड़ पर उसके दुश्मनों से हिफाजत फरमाएगा।
Okay, so now you have listened to both the things. So what are your views about it? First, I want to ask that.
Okay, honestly, Dr. Roshan, I think we should not read too much into what Bilawal Bhutto Zardari has said to Srinivasan Jain, who was interviewing him for Al Jazeera. If you look at history, Bilawal had said so many nasty things about India and its leadership in the past, which no sincere political leader would ever say. And let me also remind you that he is not the first one in Pakistan to say something and then backtrack, or nothing happens, or there is no comment later on. He won't be the last one either. You know, I remember his father, Asif Ali Zardari, had also promised to send ISI chief Ahmad Suja Pasha to India in the wake of Mumbai terror attack in 2008, and nothing happened. When Zardari made this promise, he was the president of Pakistan. This was vetoed by the powerful security establishment then, and this was also established by the WikiLeaks, which had made it clear that in a secret cable to US, what had transpired at that point of time. At present, if you look at Bilawal Bhutto's position, Bilawal is not holding any office of prominence except the chairman PPP, which hardly matters as far as India-Pakistan relations is concerned. Pakistan can easily discard his statement and get away with it by terming it as his personal opinion, personal remarks. They may also resort to familiar line of argument if one provokes them further. For example, they would say that they have a functioning judiciary in Pakistan which has thoroughly examined the case of terrorism and found no actionable evidence against Hafiz Saeed's involvement in many terror activities. That we all know. They have been saying this throughout this period, and I'm not sure, and I'm sure actually that they would repeat the same if the time comes. And on Talha Saeed's statement, Talha Hafiz Saeed's statement, Talha's statement reflects what country Islamic extremists think about terrorists and their masters. I'm not surprised at all. We may hear certain similar statements from other Islamic outfits in Pakistan. We may also see some small protest here and there by right wing institutions there, especially those who are involved in extremist activities. We must also not forget the kind of hybrid system is in place in Islamabad. Pakistan Army under Asim Munir is micromanaging affairs of the Pakistani state. There is hardly any area of importance which could be completely open to civilians for decision making. I think that's
This,
the initial remark
yes,
about the
the,
statement. And
yeah, I wanted to bring in here what you said. It is linked to the previous this thing. We feel that there is a shift in civil military power balance, and we find that military is becoming more and more powerful now. And with Asif Munir, we saw that even the lunch what he had with President Trump, which was also quite unprecedented because he's not the head of the state and still he was invited for that. But there are also certain kinds of alleged rumors which are going on that there might be a military coup that may take place. So a lot of political factions are realigning and anti-coup statements are coming up. So I also wanted to know from you that are these rumors or are there certain truth in it? Basically, what I want to know is what are the implication of this civil military power in balance in terms of governance and democracy?
as I said, in my initial remark, that Pakistan has a hybrid system. As
Yes.
far as military coup, coming in anytime soon, I think it's rumor. Not there's no substance to it because there is no real challenge before Pakistan Army at the moment. And what we have learned, what we have seen, and what we have observed reading certain developments, in Pakistan, Pakistan Army is quite comfortable working behind the civilian facade.
Seems.
So they would not assume the task directly as long as it is extremely necessary for them to actually go ahead and when their institutional interests are threatened. Only in that case they can go ahead with the military coup. They have seen it happening, during Jia's time. They have seen it Musharraf. They have seen it during Musharraf's time. They have seen, the first military leader, Ayub Khan. So when military leaders assume, power directly, they become quite unpopular. And my understanding on army as an institution in Pakistan is that it is quite conscious about its public image. So when military guys take charge of democratic institutions directly or take charge of the country directly, they become unpopular over the period of time, and actually that leads to their ouster in the end. So given that kind of context, I don't think that there is a military coup coming in Pakistan. The reasons I have just underlined.
Okay, so the other question, which is a more important, actually, the question is: do you feel that there are more radical group and sectarian violence now than even before? And what is the core reason for it? Is it that what during General Zia's time, that the Islamization and the institutionalized religious identity, what he professed, is it that the same template is being followed by Munir, or is it something different? And how it is going to impact the internal security and social fabric? Basically, what are the structural factors that enable the persistence of jihadi and extremist networks in Pakistan?
Uh, I think, let's understand it in this way. Pakistan as a society remains desperate, fractured, and divided along linguistic, ethnic, sectarian, and what we say provincial lines these days also. Unlike other neighboring countries in South Asia, Pakistan, right since the beginning, failed to evolve what we say a positive national narrative to fully integrate every section of their society into one whole. And I remember, I think around 2009, Farjana Sheikh came up with her study called "Making Sense of Pakistan," and in that study, she argued that Pakistan remains an enigma even after several decades of its existence, and it means different things to different people in Pakistan. So as far as radical sectarian groups, getting stronger, there is no doubt about it. The fault line is quite deepening, and if you look at sectarian fault line, I think recently we had seen, I think around 1,000 people were killed in Kurram, and in the Shia Sunni conflict. Also, Pakistani state and its people tried to pass it on as a law and order issue or sometimes as a land dispute, but this is not the land dispute. Look at the kind of fault lines Pakistan has. The first and foremost, and I think the most important fault line, sometimes I also call it mother of all fault line, is the ideological fault line. You know, right since the beginning, Pakistan was created in the name of, like they argued that they are creating a state, they are creating a homeland for the Muslims of South Asia where they would be able to live peacefully, and they will pursue their civilizational destiny without being dominated by the so-called Hindu majority of India. They have not moved out of it, and then you see the kind of constitution they framed right since when the objective resolution was passed in 1949 itself, which said that sovereignty belongs to Almighty Allah and it has been delegated to the guys, the lesser mortals who are on the ground to govern. So everything originates there, and no political leader, no military leader in Pakistan ever tried to address this issue. I remember one of my, I think about a decade ago, I was in Pakistan. I was visiting Pakistan for a conference, and at that point of time, I was a student. I was pursuing my PhD, and I remember that many young Pakistanis who met me at that point of time, they were asking what Pakistan should do to come out of the problematic situation and what it should do to make good relationship with India. And I had suggested to them at that point of time, and my suggestion is still to me, I think it's valid. I suggested to them that look, Pakistan needs to renegotiate its social contract. Until and unless it renegotiates its social contract, it will not be able to find a solution to the problems it is facing. and sectarianism or religious bigotry, religious extremism, rising sectarianism in especially in youth population is an outcome of that. I remember there's a study by Amir Rana, and he's a Pakistani. He heads, I think, pipes, and he conducted a survey, and in that survey it came out like young Pakistanis, those who are considered to be the future of Pakistan, they do not have friends beyond their own sectarian, lineage. They are not going beyond. Forget about interreligious, friendship. They are not making friends outside their sect. So sectarian identity in Pakistan is becoming quite, important for even the young guys. A reason, of course, is the state's withdrawal. State of Pakistan never tried to address these concerns. I was reading somewhere, there were certain reports which said that Pakistan needs at least 1.5 million jobs every year for its youth. But where are the jobs in Pakistan? Nothing. There's nothing there. So if Pakistan is not able to entertain their youth and engage them in positive, endeavors, I don't think that religious extremist outfits would find it difficult to trap them. And this is what is happening in Pakistan.
I I think you said that you rightly pointed out, but I feel that if the state is not addressing these problems, probably because there is the dilution in civil power. There is too much militarization, and the military is all powerful, and probably that is diluting the civil power and the democracy per se.
That is only one aspect of it. Even there were people like Zulfikar Ali Bhutto when they came to power, I think post 1971. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was supposed to address some of the perennial issues of Pakistan, and he was actually in a position to do that, but he did not do that. He could have clipped the wings of the powerful Pakistan army at that point of time because the nation's morale was quite down. But instead of doing that, he actually did things opposite. So when civilian leaders come to power in Pakistan, they look for these right wing organizations, right wing outfits, extremist outfits for their own benefit, and these outfits are beneficial for them. Sometimes these outfits are used to gain political legitimacy. Sometimes they are used to topple an existing government in Islamabad or in other provincial capitals. Sometimes they agree to their demands also. Like recently, even Shehbaz Sharif made changes in blasphemy laws that the religious groups were demanding for quite long. So they in a way try to co-opt these guys and their agenda in one way or the other. So there is no one in Pakistan. When I say state of Pakistan, I include both the political leadership and military leadership, which has been in power at some point of time. I think about 30 years or more, they were able to rule directly, and now they are ruling indirectly. I always say that Pakistan army, or if you use the term security establishment, has effectively hijacked the very state of Pakistan, and they are not allowing any slight change in the grand national narrative which they have weaved around anti-India sentiment in Pakistan. They are not allowing it, and any political leader who tries to make certain changes or even makes an attempt, he's out of power. We have seen, I think by now Pakistan has at least 25 prime minister till date. Nawaz Sharif thrice, Benazir Bhutto twice, Shehbaz Sharif again twice. The first 8 prime ministers were never elected. There was no election in that sense. So that's the situation in Pakistan.
So, do you think that the youth, how are they perceiving the things? And do you feel that there might be a group of political force which are reformist in nature, and they are in tussle with the conservative militant group? Do you feel that that kind of a political polarization may take place in future or
if
not?
if
Or the
if
hardliners will continue to advertise their agenda and become more stronger?
I would be surprised if there is no one to actually take on these guys. There is small minority. I sometimes people refer to it civil society, but the problem with civil society in Pakistan is that it is in a toothless minority. It can only talk. It doesn't have the capacity to mobilize people. There are very few people. And these guys these days they are not getting, what we say, getting any stage to speak about. I think there are people like the professor, I'm forgetting his name, who works on nuclear issue, Parvez Wood boy. And then there are many, human rights activists there, but their voices are unheard. They are not given platforms to speak up. They are not given platform to create another narrative. So until and unless you galvanize people on these issues and people realize that yes, this could be also a way to go ahead, you can't make much of a way. So with Pakistan, sadly, that is the state of affairs, that these guys, though there are many people in number who are not conservative, who are pragmatic, who look positively for their future, but when they look at the things that are happening inside Pakistan, then they get disappointed. And these days, earlier what used to be the case, that if Pakistani platforms are not available for them to speak, then international platforms were available. But these days, I don't find many such voices using international platforms to air their views, because the moment you try to air your views, which are in conflict with the views which Pakistan's powerful security establishment has, you will be branded as the enemy of the state, or I to be more specific, you will be branded as an Indian agent. And you can imagine, if somebody in Pakistan is branded as an Indian agent, what would be his life or her life? So I think that's the problem which Pakistan is facing at the moment.
I would also now like to welcome our DG, Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh. He has just joined us. And we were just discussing about Pakistan's internal turmoil. General Singh, would you like to comment something on that?
Yeah, first of all, thanks, Mr. Shukla, for joining us for this discussion. I have few, you know, I would say one-liners which you must consider and then respond to based on your research which you have been doing. There have been certain amount of indications in the last few weeks after Op Sindoor of the Pakistani establishment trying to shift away, at least the perception is that which is being given, away from China partially towards the US. Now, if you have to shift towards the US, Pakistan has to project itself as a responsible state. Now, certain actions which do not impact the internal fault lines, Munir is driving those, like going directly to the US, getting into deals as far as cryptocurrency goes, because it has to overcome the economic pushback which it is having for the last so many years, that it is in a very terrible state. It can't even pay back its interests on the loans which it has. So those actions it is taking, or a deal in Balochistan over the minerals, etc. It is taking a calculated risk, because the risk is to be taken against China, not against its own people. But it also knows that there was a BRICS summit going on, and it is still, I think, we find the BRICS declaration has come out, and it has very pronounced manner uh, condemned terrorism. Of course, it has not named Pakistan, etc. That's a different issue, but it has definitely named the Pahalgam attack, etc. So there has been a push for terrorism in the BRICS. Now, Pakistan, if it wants to solidify its position to enter BRICS, it must be seen as some kind of a responsible state. Now, if government says that we are ready to hand over, or consider handing over Hafiz Saeed, Azhar Mahmood, and the likes of that, provided India takes correct legal measures to do so. Imagine, I mean, remember, this has been their position even in the past, but they never agreed to handing over. They would say that we would take action against these actors based on our legal provisions, and we will give them whatever punishment has to be given. They never said that we will hand them over to you, like Tahur Rana has been handed over to us, and now whatever punishments he gets, he will be getting it from the government of India. Now this time they did consider handing over these three people, maybe because it's my opinion. You can further add or criticize me. The BRICS situation which was happening, B, in the case of US Pakistan, they wanted to look like a responsible state which is actually fighting terrorism, because ultimately the US also is quite concerned about terrorism. It has been a victim of terrorism, probably the most severest victim of terrorism. Over a period of time, it is almost seeing every day one attack taking place after the other. And the third and the most important issue is, why coming from Bilawal Bhutto, who has no authority actually as far as government is concerned. But Bilawal has a lineage, and the government probably did not want to burn its finger, so it tried to test the waters of the public by telling someone else to throw this particular red herring into the environment and see what is the environment of Pakistani, what is the reaction of the Pakistani people. If the reaction is going to be very, very, I would say, violent, then they would not propose this thing formally. So therefore, I think it was these three, four things, these factors, which probably led to Bilawal being made, and plus Bilawal also enjoys the president's son. That relationship is there of Pakistan. And lastly, don't forget, the FATF is going to review Pakistan in August. FATF is going to review Pakistan in August, and FATF has already displayed its intentions very clearly. The day he was having lunch with the US, on the same day, FATF condemned the attack, and they said that they will look into this matter with Pakistan in their next review. All these factors probably have forced Pakistan to test waters of their own public, because internal things are very dangerous. You can handle external factors, China, US, Pakistan, Pakistan or Afghanistan or Iran, but it is very difficult to handle internal issues. As such, they are in a massive internal political instability. PTI is eyeing for any kind of a issue which they can raise it into the polity of Pakistan. So do you think these could have been the reason why they tried to do this testing of waters? Your views on this? I have done a little longer review of the situation, but I thought it would give the correct perspective to our audience also. Over to you, Ajay. You're mute.
Muted. Okay. How it got muted?
Now it's
Now
all
it's
right.
okay.
Now it's all right.
Now
It's
it's
okay.
okay.
I think I was shown muted anyway. So thank you, sir, for those questions. First of all, I think earlier when the podcast was beginning, I had talked about Bilawal Bhutto thing. But let me first address this shift from China to US. I think it's too early to conclude that Pakistanis are actually thinking about on those lines. Pakistan, you are well aware that Pakistan is a rentier state. There is no doubt about it. And we should also be very, very clear that Pakistan's relationship with Americans, though on political front may have seen some ups and downs, but on military front this has not been the case. I remember when Trump came to the power for the first time in his first tenure, he tweeted on one fine day, I think 1st of January or something, which was like that US was intending to punish Pakistan. And in India, some of our media houses went gaga about it. They were talking about now Pakistan will be squeezed. Americans are going hard on Pakistan. But I think 3 days later, a CENTCOM chief telephoned Army Chief Pakistan and said that these are temporary turbulences. And I could see this was not in the public news. I could get to know about this because I was monitoring ISPR's daily press releases, and in one of the press releases it was mentioned. So Pakistan-US relations, as far as military to military is concerned, was always there. we have to wait and see whether it's a shift or not. Probably, I don't think it is going to be a shift, because the kind of Chinese engagement is there with Pakistan these days. It would not be easy for even for Pakistanis to shift immediately to, and look for partners outside, the region, and look for Americans. Thirdly, Bilawal's thing, again, I would say that we should not read too much into what Bilawal has said. You may be right in saying that that Pakistan is testing waters, but testing waters for what? They are not going to hand over these guys. That's my understanding, that's my reading. What they are indicating, that they are ready to talk to India, and they are very much willing to engage India on a negotiation table, because when they are engaging India, it helps them overcome certain other challenges, both internally as well as externally. As you rightly said, that FATF is going to have a review. If you are engaging and if you are seen cooperating on issues of terrorism, of course, you may get a go ahead from FATF. You may not be blacklisted. So that could be an attempt by Pakistan to portray itself in a good light. But reality, I think we should not be ignoring the reality. We should be definitely focusing on what actually Pakistan does. Is there any strategic shift in their policy towards India? Is there any strategic shift in their policy towards using, non-state actors? I always say that earlier we used to say that Pakistan army uses non-state actors as strategic asset and foreign policy tools. But these days, I think they are using also it as a paramilitary arm of Pakistan army to engage and create problems for neighbors in South Asia, especially India, and to some extent Afghanistan also. So I think I look at the developments in this context, sir.
Okay, I think you misunderstood my
Please,
questioning,
please, please.
line of questioning. I at no stage said that India should read too much about it. What I said was that why is he doing? Why are they doing these kind of things? Initially they have their connectivities in India also. Remember, a few days back, Daulat had said something that the intelligence agencies of both should. This is they're trying to go back to Aman Ki Asha days, and then suddenly you have Bilawal Bhutto coming up with these kind of statements. What I said was that it is attempting something which we need to actually foil by taking suitable steps. Let's say the FATF move, let's say the BRICS move. In the BRICS, we have actually forced ourselves to ensure that terror attack was mentioned as part of the declaration. That is one. The second thing is, now when the FATF comes in, it is at that point in time. Remember, India is a founder member of FATF, so we can influence in the FATF. We still have our friends there, and overall, let me tell you, India even now enjoys a larger kind of a friendship, as far, or if not friendship, at least favorable opinion in the global south. So the FATF must be addressed very seriously now, because this to me looks like a game or a ploy to fool the FATF, as they have been doing in the past. They got away from the grey list, and therefore they started getting all their aids, etc. IMF gave it, World Bank has now given for 10 years 40 billion, blah blah blah. And this also gives a ticket for the Saudi Arabians to give them aid. This also gives them ticket for other donations which are coming into Pakistan, which makes them survive better. So it is, the war is on. What I'm saying is, Op Sindoor kinetically may have currently been paused, but kinetically Op Sindoor is going on. This is a Lipa Poti, an attempt which is being made. Out of the ones which were made overtly, I agree there was no external pressure, because China would have been put on board before they went into the US, and they started doing something. And remember also that Chinese equipments have failed very badly. PL-15 have failed. There are almost reports of 6 to 8 PL-15 which are now actually lying with us for, and people are clamoring for it. They want it taken so that they can do the necessary research to ensure that it fails in future also. right? So they are, everybody looking for diversification. I, as a defense expert, would not like to put all my eggs in one basket. Today 81% or 82%, initially when we were I was researching about 2-3 weeks back, or 3-4 weeks back, it was around 89, then it was calibrated to 81%. Let's take it that it is even 70 to 75%. Now 70 to 75% of dependence, that too on major advanced technologies, it is a major flaw for a country,
True.
especially if its equipment is going to fail the way they have failed. So therefore, in my view, we need to put that screw on. That next battle for India is FATF. Next battle for India is the SCO summit meet, which is going to come later in September. We have to, whether we sign or not sign is different. Our tune must remain that at every forum, Pakistan's reality, what you have been just saying, that we should not accept them at what they say, we should accept them at what they do. So that what they do is a very important factor which we should look at it, and not get kind of sidetracked by the other issues. So therefore, what I said was, our always tendency to conflate political narratives and international diplomatic narratives with security narratives must be delinked. Security narrative must remain to protect India's sovereignty, irrespective of what is happening in the political and diplomatic domain. We need our preparations to continue. Sindoor 1, 2, 3, these may come. There are a lot of indications that there are people looking to, create trouble as far as we are concerned. So therefore, this is the view which I had, and I thought I must share it, and that's why I intervened in between your podcast, and share these views with the public as well.
No,
Yeah.
this was a good intervention, sir. Actually,
No,
I couldn't agree more. These points are very well taken. We should
yes.
always be ready to face the challenge which comes from Pakistan in every single domain. And we should never let off your guard or our guards in any case. As you rightly said, that apart from kinetic, we should also be ready in non-kinetic, ways to counter whatever narrative Pakistan is trying to build outside. And as I said that when you talk to them, when you are on negotiation table, it helps Pakistan, not you. Most of the time, it helps them because they are able to sell it internationally. That look, we are trying to resolve, we are trying to cooperate, but actually they do not cooperate. We all have seen it. We have seen so many ups and downs, and most of the time we were let down by the Pakistanis. Whatever they promised on negotiation table, they never delivered in most of the cases. So there is nothing much to say about it. Everybody knows about it. That's I think my point of view.
But there are some very interesting things which have come out from the statements of various people in Pakistan related to the statement on Hafiz Saeed and Azhar Mahmood, and they didn't mention Sayyid Salahuddin, but I assume Sayyid Salahuddin would have been. But imagine, he's very old guy. It could also be that they are thinking of knocking them off, or they are afraid that these guys might get knocked off. So that could be also another reason why these kind of reconciliatory signals are coming from Pakistan. So we have to be very careful. The point which I am
Yes.
trying to make is that we have to be very careful reading these developments and not lose sight of our main aim. And our main
Agree.
aim still remains that Pakistan is a entity not to be trusted. It should remain on the boil. Then only India can feel secure and safe as far as our western borders are concerned. And for that, I think our diplomatic non-kinetic arm, non-kinetic efforts, whether they are information, cyber, etc., they must continue to carry on their task and do not get too carried away by political and diplomatic narratives. Those are meant for international audience. The security forces have to be, and this is a land warfare related think tank. So that is why I wanted to tell that, look, friends, the security forces will remain alive to a threat from Pakistan. It will never go. It will never be left alone. We have made mistakes, and here I'm talking of the intelligence part, repeatedly, and we accept it. Every government has accepted it. Kargil intelligence, Galwan intelligence, before that Mumbai intelligence. Mumbai attack was a gross failure. I mean, imagine, they come all the way through maritime route,
Agree.
and we need to find measures now to surprise them. They have used maritime route. We have yet to exploit our maritime power. And if there is one area where we have asymmetry with Pakistan, is maritime. In maritime domain, we have asymmetry even with China, because see, China cannot enter Indian Ocean without the, I would say, without the permission of Indian naval forces, because those three doors in the South China Sea, from South China Sea to Indian Ocean, are very well covered by India. So therefore, we enjoy a hell of a lot of superiority in certain areas, but the other areas where we are behind, and I won't say behind, but I would say that we are at par, given the fact that we have to also take care of China, because the northern front threat is not gone anywhere. And you
Of
saw
course.
the deputy chief making a statement that we were fighting three enemies on one front.
One point. Yes.
You can understand which was the third enemy which we were referring to, without naming them, because anything can
Yes.
happen on that. That's a very very sensitive area now, given the fact that there are now there is a trend which has been analyzed, and today I was hearing Mr. Mattu in the from JNU. He was giving a talk at Clause, and one of the trends which he said was that the big power rivalry has commenced. It is no more. It is no more a unipolar world. The multipolar world is slowly changing towards the modular world, and in that the pronounced impact is a big power rivalry, with Russia also asserting itself. So it is in US China is there, but Russia is also asserting itself. It has come on the global stage. It may not be very high in the economic ranking. Militarily, Russia is still a power to reckon with till the time it has those 5,400 odd nuclear arsenals which it has, which it has today. So in this kind of a scenario, I feel that India should also not lose sight of the security issue related to Pakistan, and focus upon it in that manner, using all its arms to ensure that Pakistan does not get its way uh, ahead, as far as its other problems are concerned. It has already got a lot of benefits because of I think there's a saying there ki लड़ाई करो हमको पैसा मिलेगा. That's the that is the kind of perception which Pakistan has. Even if you lose, declare it as a victory. Imagine the previous chap, Kamar Bajwa. He says we never lost 1971 war.
Yes, yes.
Instead,
They never lost in 48 to
yeah,
65.
no, but here he gave a reason. He says we didn't have 93,000 prisoners of war. Most of them are Bangladeshis. They have gone back to Bangladesh. So technically, it's Pakistan.
Many of no guys who spent time in Indian jails and are now alive. I met some
Yes.
of those guys. Those who were lost in Allahabad Nani Central Jail. I come from Allahabad, and one of the Pakistani colonel I met somewhere. So he was telling me that he was lost in Allahabad's Nani Central Jail, and he was treated well by Indian administration at that point of time.
No, you see, what I'm trying to say is that justification of a victory by Pakistan is it is in its DNA. They are wedded to this kind of a narrative. Play the victim card, then claim the victory for its internal population. For external population, for the external actors, tell that, oh, we have been hit by India XYZ. Please give us aid. So everybody releases him aid at that point in time. So the next big hurdle for him is if FATF puts him back in the grey list. Mind you, all this aid will stop. So I think our target should be very clear now, and that is that FATF list, we should fight tooth and nail to ensure that Pakistan is accounted for as far as Pahalgam attack is concerned, and if there is a need to share some things with the FATF officials, we should do so to ensure that this, free flow of money which is coming to them, at least there is a check on
Check.
them. China has not given them anything after 30 billion. They're just rolling the 30 billion as far as the interests are concerned. As a, ultimately, it will take its pound of flesh also. So I think we need to take Pakistan to that level where they have to think internally and not externally create problems for India. That's all I had to say. I think Dr. Roshan, you can take some.
Yeah, Singh, actually, I wanted to ask you a question also because we were talking about
Me?
China, Pakistan. Yes, we were talking about China, Pakistan defense equipment, how Pakistan is dependent upon 81% and all those things we were talking about. And we know that the equipment did not play very well as far as Op Sindur is concerned. But one thing which is, maybe a cause of concern is the real-time data sharing between Pakistan and China. We know that
You see, you see, as far as non-kinetic convergence is concerned, it is complete. It's fusion. They have officers of the Chinese
yes,
army into the GHQ of Pakistan, and vice versa. Pakistan has officers in the Western Theatre Command. So
yes,
once you share human resource, then everything else gets shared. It is the last straw in a collusive environment. So therefore, non-kinetic measures which are considered as space related assets, which are considered as information warfare. Have you seen the information warfare? I mean, more than Pakistan, it was China which
yes,
was
China.
emanating pro Pakistan narratives and also exploiting its connections in US and other foreign countries.
Yes,
Look at the kind of campaigns which they were running in the US on TikTok. Nobody sees YouTube that much, or nobody sees Instagram that much, nobody sees Twitter that much than TikTok. Most of the population of America is wedded to TikTok. Why do you think they are not able to ban TikTok? It is because of this reason. Even the politicians actually rely on TikTok for their campaigning. So that is the kind of
information warfare.
popularity TikTok has, and the Chinese fully exploited it for Pakistan.
Yeah.
That is a given, and that is why you will find that you should also watch what India is doing. India has realized this thing. Somebody coming out in some YouTube and saying India is learning the wrong lessons. I think that fellow is absolutely incorrect. What have we done? We immediately released additional capital. We have increased the powers of the vice chief. We have given him now capital procurement powers, and it is not going everything is not going going to defense secretary. We have speeded up the launch of our 52 satellites, which were supposed to take place 2 years later.
Yes.
Now most of the satellites have started going up in the air. So what I'm trying to say is that, and it is all in the open source, that India is
Yes,
speeding up its 52 satellites. Why is it doing so? It is based on the lessons learned of Sindoor,
yes,
that we need to. Nobody will come and support us. China will support Pakistan, but who will support us?
yes, absolutely.
We have partnerships, and in partnerships we have to buy. So whatever support we will get, we have to literally buy that support. So instead of buying, let's take a long term view and start expediting our defense related measures, which are, whether it is in the space, or whether it is in cyber, whether it is in information domain, or whether it is in procurement of hard power air defense guns. Our air defense guns are of the 60s vintage here. They have to be changed. How long can we modify it? After all, purani gadi hoti hai. After a while it will break down. It is able to do so in a 3 days or 4 days more. But now we need to change those things. Those were there as an ad hoc measures for any sudden emergency like this. So you should also appreciate the fact that India is not sitting on its haunches. Even if it has its old equipment, it is ensuring that it is able to use it as long as possible till we get the modern equipment. And The work is already on towards that. Air defense is the next area where we are focusing in a big way to modernize our armed forces, whether they are in the army, air force, or the navy. All three of our systems, now there is an effort to integrate all three: Trigun, Akash Tir, and IACC,
Yes.
IACCS. So once they get integrated, you will find our air defense will become very, very strong,
Much strong.
at least against Pakistan and China. So I think I'll stop here. We have a
Yes.
lot of
A lot of
questions in the
questions. Yeah.
most of them are yeah.
They say that in Aisha Siddiqui interview,
Siddika.
yeah, there was
Ayesha
some.
Siddiqa,
She's a
but
Pakistani expert. Yeah, $1.2 trillion की mineral deal हुई. But do they have that much kind of a mineral?
That the world has to see. Nobody exactly knows what kind of minerals they have, but of course, if in Balochistan province especially, which is considered to be mineral rich province, they might have certain things, and that's why Chinese engagement and Chinese investment in other port, you can very well see, and in surrounding areas is there. So Chinese are very much there, and if there is anything, they will try to extract at the cost of the local people who are protesting against any China-Pakistan collaboration to exploit those resources. So this is very much there.
you see, I'll link this question to a few weeks back when there was a Trump's son and his buddy, golfing buddy, who had come visiting Pakistan. They struck a deal in cryptocurrency and minerals. Now, the next war, in my view, is going to be on minerals only, because the way people are talking about minerals everywhere, China is also searching for it, America is also searching for it. At that time, there was a news published that there is a potential for about 1 trillion worth of minerals in Balochistan. Later on, this has been revised. It has been brought down considerably. And what have been the Chinese doing for the last so many years in Balochistan?
Yes.
They are also taking out these things, back to their homes. They have already sold off Balochistan once to Chinese. If they sell it second time to America, so be it. Let America realize what they are entering into. They have suffered so many times with Pakistan. Yeah, I have attended number of their debates on what have you done with our $6 billion, the first Afghanistan war.
Yeah.
No answer. No answer. Aage, it's gone into the well, the never-ending well of Pakistan. 28. How many? 24 IMF bailouts, and how many? I don't know.
2025, I think.
25 IMF
25.
bailouts. Yeah.
This is
Uh,
25th, I think, EEF, which is ongoing, 37-month
hmm.
EEF. It's
Yeah.
25th time. And
Yeah.
sometimes we say that Pakistan is the most, you know, important customer of IMF. It goes frequently to IMF whenever there is a problem. And with
Yes.
Pakistan, another thing is that it never learns from history. It never learns from a crisis. It waits for other crisis to happen. And whenever the crisis is there, it just tries to window dress the and do something from here and there and get money from outside, especially IMF. And if there is possibility from American funding and earlier Saudi Arabia, UAE, from everywhere it gets money in one way or the other and does nothing structural, a shift in its basic economic policy. Even the recent budget which we were observing, there was nothing new in it. The
Yeah.
same old recipe in the new bottle was being put to Pakistani people, and everybody knows that nothing is going to improve on the ground.
Yeah.
There is one question for you, Jan Singh. It says that, as you have said, that the kinetic action is only on pause. But the common people in India should be ready for not only action by armed forces, but also be ready for any losses.
Well, Gitanjali, I think, look, whenever you fight a battle is a bloody action, whether it is non-contact or whether it is contact. When it is contact, it is even more bloodier. And when it is non-contact, the main sufferers are not the military, it is the civilians. What happened? of Sindoor also. When the non-contact battle started, we had civilians suffering in Punj. We had people suffering all along the LC in the Jammu sector, because people were there in their fields, etc. So you will find that the target more often than not become the civilian. The sense of depth has gone in all future wars. So if you are in Kerala also, don't feel safe that you are in Kerala, so nothing will happen to you. The weapons have a range of 2,000 kilometers, 3,000 kilometers. The entire India is virtually covered by Pakistan. And China, of course, they have an ICBM capability, so they can go much beyond. So therefore, the sense of depth is gone. So there will be losses here. There will be losses, and be prepared. We will also cause unacceptable losses to the enemy, and the side which is able to cause greater loss will win. I'm being very brutal strategically, let me tell you, because wars are brutal, and the strategy for war has to be brutal. Yeah.
Absolutely. Geographically, also, we are much larger as far as Pakistan is concerned. So, losses to them will be much more higher compared to us. There is Mr. Palu is saying that can't we give bundles of documents to international press that we have collected over the decades to
It's
publicly
not
expose
that
the
it's
propaganda?
not that we have not given or we are not giving. We have
It's already
always
there.
been, giving these documents to whosoever wants in international media. But the problem is that sometimes geopolitics favors works in your favor. Sometimes it doesn't work. So that is the thing we have to understand. It's not that we are not making attempts. There is nothing which can be done and we are not doing. We are doing everything possible to deal with the situation which Pakistan creates every now and then. And our efforts are already there, as Sir has already highlighted. The military point, diplomatically, we have been active, quite active, and look at the kind of delegations which we sent immediately after Operation Sindoor was paused. We sent it and we tried to cover as far as even we went to African continent also, to tell them, to apprise them what was the reality. Because when your narrative, I think when your enemy's narrative is amplified by not friendly states in the international system, then you have to take matters in your own hand also. And we did it beautifully, we did it well. The kind of delegations were there, we must appreciate.
Mr. Thadani is asking, radicalization is all pervasive in the Pak population, and the elite live and life of entitlement beyond their share of the loot,
I think, when
and they do not
radical,
care for geography or its people. Your views?
you know,
So
it underlines the fact that the kind of gap between haves and have-nots in Pakistan is there. So we must, acknowledge that there is no doubt about it. But when radicalization takes over, it doesn't spare even elites. Everybody is, in the grip of it. Even governors were murdered by, those guys. Look at what happened to Salman Taseer. So if nobody despair, radicalization or extremism is a kind of mad dog. If you raise what we say snakes in your backyard, don't think that they will only bite your enemies. They will sometimes bite you also, and that is very much happening. Look at the kind of attacks TTP is actually doing inside Pakistan. Look at Baloch ethno nationalist operations which they are conducting, especially in Balochistan and also in other parts of the country. And they have also introduced suicide bombing these days, and that too by women suicide bombers in Balochistan. BLA has certain squads. I think the three Chinese got killed in Confucius Center, attack in Karachi long back. Shari Baloch was the lady, even the mother of two, who conducted that. Then they had this Bela camp, under Operation Herof, I think, when Mahal Baloch actually took the lead. So it's not that only poor people are actually being targeted by or being, at the receiving end. Even elites are also at the receiving end, depending on the kind of, situation in which they find themselves.
There is this thing. Terrorists are citizens of Pakistan. One does not simply give away terrorist citizens to the country where they spread terror. And Bilawal probably will have the same for any. These are a few
Yeah,
comments.
First part I don't support. As a human being, I would not like anybody to be killed. Uh, Pakistan uses terror outfits as strategic assets. We have, said it during the discussion. And the problematic part is that despite having a severe blowback, as I was mentioning, in the form of PTP, Pakistan is not ready to revise its strategy. It is going ahead with its strategy without any doubt. So that's the problematic aspect. And as a neighboring country, as a country which is, of course, most of the time at the receiving end of terrorism, we are definitely ready. We are trying hard to deal with any and every Pakistani intervention in our territory with full military diplomatic preparedness. So we are very much there. That's my comment to Rayuku, if I remember, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly.
Any last comments from both of you, Janil Singh and Dr. Shukla, before we wind up this?
Yeah, you can ask Shukla to
Uh,
comment. There were a number of interesting things. I would like to flash this
huh.
just to humor up, just to humor
Yes.
up our audience. Can't Sashi Tharoor sit with some famous world anchor and surprise them bundles of documents coordinated with our narrative and his vocabulary and ask them to make a documentary? So it is just to highlight a lighter tone to our today's discussion. There were some other questions also related to will Russia help us in case of
Yes.
India, Pakistan. You see, as of now, Russia itself is heavily committed. It is
Committed. Yes.
it has already lost about 34% of its strategic capability in terms of destruction of the aircrafts, etc. Plus, it is fighting a full-fledged battle in Ukraine. It is the fifth year, I think, now, which is going to start now, and it is absolutely at its endurance limits unless it gets support from outside. And they are also fighting their own battle, barring few support from North Korea and China, etc., and Iran to some extent. Now Iran itself has been battered badly, so even that support is gone. I don't think Russia will be in a position, even nuclear wise. Nuclear is a very sensitive issue. I think we should
Yes.
not conflate nuclear with conventional. What we have said is
Yes.
we've called the nuclear bluff and we've extended the window for conventional operation. That is the achievement which we have done as far as Op Sindoor is concerned. And Op Sindoor, what another thing which we have done is even in 1971, we never rattled Pakistan, and I'm talking of the West Pakistan. We focused only on Bangladesh. We could not reach beyond, we could not strike beyond outskirts of Lahore. This time we rattled them. We
Yes.
rattled them at Islamabad, we rattled them at Lahore, we rattled them at all the airfields of there, Golari, you name it, Jacobabad, and Kairana is, of course, a very famous base where a lot of rumors have been floating around. Even today, I believe Sipri or something has come out with some kind of a statement saying that there's some targeting done there. I don't know. I am from I have retired, so I am absolutely blank on this particular issue. But these are the things which have been floating around. So we have rattled Pakistan. It is much more and more beyond than the 71 war.
Absolutely.
Don't look at the 71 war from purely prisoners, etc. Look at the Sindoor from a totally different angle. It has taught Pakistan a lesson, the main Pakistan,
Yes.
right? So I think with that, I will stop here. And if Shukla has to say
Yes.
something, he can.
I would add one more thing, sir, to this. The 11 targets, especially on 9th and 10th intervening night,
Hmm.
is what even the strongest armies in the world envy. We did it in 3 hours.
Yeah.
Very precise, accurate. Whatever we wanted to achieve, we achieved it. One more point I would like to say before I, end it for today's discussion. There are many in Pakistan who believe that politics in Pakistan is nothing more than a corporate job. where your job security depends not only on your performance but also what we say on the satisfactions of the owners of the corporate firm. I remember an interview by an inactive PPP leader whose name is Javed Iqbal. In an interview to there is a journalist called Mansoor Ali Khan. Both are Pakistani. One is inactive PPT leader, another one is associated with Sama TV, and he was doing his personal, YouTube interview was for his personal YouTube channel. So in that interview, I think Javed Iqbal, categorically stated that Pakistan is a corporate firm and politics is just like a job of Pakistan Army. Interestingly, Javed Iqbal is the father of PTI activist Sanam Javed, the lady who spent more than, I think, about 2 years in jail after May 9 incident in Pakistan, after which Pakistan Army cracked down on PTI and all. So look at the kind of system Pakistani establishment, security establishment has put in place in Pakistan, that even people who are part of the Pakistani politics are thinking that their politics is not more than a corporate firm's job. So with that, I would like to end for now, and maybe we will have such engaging discussions in future too.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Shukla. Thank you, General Singh.
Thank you. Thank you once again for inviting me for the postcard.